What's up? Brett Snodgrass with the Iron Deep Podcast. Today I'm talking to a good friend of mine, Mr. Tyler Hazel, real estate serial entrepreneur, and we're talking about something different, finding freedom and fulfillment by scaling down your business. Let's go. What's going on? This is Brett Snodgrass with another episode of the Iron Deep Podcast. Got a good friend of mine on the podcast today with me, Mr. Tyler Hazel, real estate serial entrepreneur. What's going on, Tyler? T-Money.
What's going on, man? Glad to be here.
Yeah, man. Super excited to have you on this episode. Guys, Tyler and I, we go back. I think we've known each other now for, what's it been, a decade?
Let's do it.
Give or take. Probably not even that long, but met Tyler as a young kid. He still looks like he's 17, but what are you now, 32, 33?
34.
34?
34 years old.
All right. Yeah, still got the baby face. But quick story, I met Tyler, about 10 years ago. I was selling a house on Craigslist, I believe, in Anderson, Indiana, and Tyler shows up, buys the house for a little under $30,000. I remember that number, and was a great negotiator, and didn't know who he was, but since then it's just transpired into just a great friendship. And we talk shop, we talk God, we talk friendship, we talk family, marriage, whatnot. So I always call Tyler up, and one of my best friends, I'd say, and it's just welcome to the show, man. And today we're really going to be talking about a topic that might go against everything that you're hearing on social media or on some of the gurus out there that continuously talk about how do we scale up, how do we get bigger, how do we grow. And I'm not saying that is bad, but today we're going to be talking about of finding just more fulfillment, more freedom into maybe going lean on your team, scaling down a little bit, and this is really what we're going to be talking to Tyler Hazel about. But Tyler, why don't you just give us a little bit of a glimpse of who you are, what you've been doing the last 15 years.
So I'm from the Midwest, here in the great state of Indiana. I've got a beautiful wife of 10 years. I have two boys, 6 years of age and 2. We're just now starting the school season for our oldest. I'm also running a business while trying to be a dad, a father, and it's just been a really awesome opportunity to be able to steward just the gifts that God's given us, from where we live to the church we go to having a business to take care of and run. And this has been a challenging last 3 to 4 years, and just kind of going with the seasons that God has for us. We're just up for all kinds of new adventures right now.
That's awesome, man. And don't take Tyler's humility just on the professional side too, because Tyler, when I know what I know of you, you're obviously a very successful real estate entrepreneur. You got into real estate in your teens, right? You've been doing this for a while. You've owned multiple rental properties. You've had this, a pretty large portfolio of rental properties. You own a self-storage facility. You've converted as self-storage and did that. You've owned commercial properties. You've had big business, in the real estate world where you've had multiple people working for you. And then lately you've just been, kind of scaling down and getting lean on your team. And I want you to talk about this because, again, when we go to events or mastermind groups and we hear people speak, especially in the real estate field, people are constantly wanting to get bigger, to grow their team, to add more people, to reach this certain level, and you've been down that road. I've been down that road, and sometimes when we look back, we're like, okay, what do we really want, or where are we led? And right now, I think maybe not all the time, but you're in this season of wanting to get a little bit leaner, not do as many deals, not grind so hard. And can you talk to us about was there something that happened in your journey? Was there a point where you're like, I don't know if I want to have this huge business with multiple people working for me, or I don't know if I want to do 150 or 200 deals a year or flips or whatever it is. Can you talk to us about just your
Sure.
mindset behind that?
So I guess I want to take a step back here and just kind of give a little bit of substance behind my journey, and why talking about this scaling down a business is so important. Um, I don't think it means that you have to shut down shop. I don't think it means that you have to give up on potential revenue. I just think it has to do with pivoting and in a complicated market. For me, the traction of my business really started in 2024. I was very much into the tube stock millionaire guys that I knew around locally, running rental homes, going around being my own maintenance man, doing property management, buying homes, selling homes. And it was this world that I understood. It created income, it created opportunities, setting myself apart from the average people that are working every day. It gave me the opportunities, the freedom that I wanted. Everything was great. And just like we spoke about earlier, the day when I met you, Brett, at that home that I purchased from you through Craigslist, it was just down the street from another home that I owned. And I remember the moment of meeting you, that there was something different. You were just then really starting to ramp things up into this industry that I didn't understand. And it was wholesaling. And I just couldn't fathom why you would buy something to resell. And because in my mind, owning the home and renting it out, that's how you got successful. That's how you made your money.
Mm-hmm.
Because why would you sell something if it was a good deal?
Mm-hmm.
And over that next year and a half, as I'm continuing to do the grind that I'm doing, I think I remember calling you after swimming in a crawl space during a big torrential downpour. And I just said, I am over it. I am over working so hard to make money. I'm tired of tenants moving out, tenants not paying. And I remember that opportunity when I came to work with this wholesaling company, and having a taste of a business that had steps from beginning to end, transactional. And I remember seeing how quick it was to make money from starting to end. And it was much more simplified than owning a rental property. And for that specific situation for me, as we kept growing and as we kept doing this, we began to scale. And that scaling was necessary. It was in a market that was changing, and it just happened to be that we were going with the wind. We were going with the industry, and we were able to grow. And as you grow, you have to scale your business, because if the opportunities are there, you have to make sure you have enough resources to be able to cover those opportunities. And I remember growing, and we did, at the expense of probably some personal life issues and my health, and that's the stuff that we compromise when we're pushing forward, when we're achieving those great monumental successes, because it's very easy to scale a business or to scale yourself in your business to the point of where there's not a lot left of you for the other things that matter. For me, my relationship with the Lord is so important. A relationship with my family is so important. And still trying to balance this business that I'm passionate about doing, that's negotiable there, the passionate part, because it comes in waves. But, coming out of the season of where everything was growing, it was essential for scaling. And now that we're in this period of time, as things have shifted, both culturally, we've got financial issues as a country, as a world, we've got change in environment, we've got social media influence, we have everything that's accessible to us now that never was before. It's really changed the rules of the game. And figuring out how to still be applicable in this market is really the conversation what we're having right now. And that's why I think we're bringing up the subject of scaling down a business.
Yeah.
I don't know if that helps bring some validity behind some of the experience. But
Yeah. Yeah,
it's
definitely. I want to
it
just
can
talk.
consume you one way or another.
I want to maybe ask you just some personal questions on it. So yeah, take ourselves back 5, 6 years ago. The market is growing, right? We've all seen it from 2017, 18 to 2020. We had COVID. Now we're here. The market prices are still high. We got interest rates raising up, which you talk about a lot. So back then we had all these opportunities kind of coming at us. We're growing. We're taking up on these opportunities. So let me ask you: is one of the reasons why maybe you're pausing, you're taking a step back and just evaluating everything? Is it because you're seeing maybe less opportunities? You're seeing possibly an opportunity of destruction, right? Coming, and there's a lot of unknowns with a lot of things that are going on. Or is that because of maybe lack of opportunities? Or is it more of like again, you go back to you compromised yourself so much, and there's this personal internal decision where like, man, I don't want to sacrifice myself that much because it doesn't stop. You just continue thinking that. I had a conversation with a friend of mine the other day, thinking if I can just get here, then I'll be able to take a step back and to pause. And my comment to him was like, I don't know. I mean, I've probably been saying that, and I have had seasons of that, but for years, in certain situations, and sometimes we just keep moving the bark. So my question is maybe scaling down, getting more lean because of lack of opportunities, or is it more of like, you know what? I don't know if this big business is just for me. I want to have more of myself. I want to be able to do the things that I enjoy. I want to be there for my family. I don't want to sacrifice myself and just thin myself out all the time.
I think the easiest way to respond to that would be it's choosing the right opportunities. And since our opportunities that we have been limited, I mean, it's not the same. It's not the same supply of opportunities that come down the pipeline anymore. It's now selectively choosing which ones and making them the best. For me, over the last couple of years, as we've scaled down on the volume of transactions we've been doing, our deals, our margin of income has been 3x, some of them higher than that. And we've been selectively buying. So, we came from a time where you could do 5, 10 deal in our business. We came from a time as a small operation, 5 to 10 deals a month. And it was fairly easy to move those deals. Well, those same headaches we could do in 2 deals, and we can make the same revenue, sometimes even 2 times that. So it's just utilizing our time and stretching it out for more. Just being really resourceful. And the trap is when you start working for your business and you're not able to work on your business. And that's something that's in all kinds of business books, but truly it's so easy to get stuck in the monotonous steps that go into a business, working in your business, and you just waste all that time that you have that you could be spending with your family. You could be spending that margin of bandwidth on the next investment that you're going to keep. You could do a development project with all that extra time that you're saving by not burning it up on sticking to, the hamster wheel of just trying to do a volume of deals, not making the same margin, because we all have so much time and attention we can devote a day. And it's, where do you want to devote that?
Yeah.
And right now, opportunities aren't what they were. There's all kinds of things that are moving right now, and in the real estate industry, there's all kinds of homes that are for sale, but they're just not good deals. And it still takes an end buyer. It still takes you as the investor to believe in it enough to be able to buy the property, to flip it. Now we're dealing with even more issues with banks and underwriters approving sales and doing, cutting you on appraisals. I mean, everything is tightening up.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
harder to be a little riskier with these purchases right now.
Yeah, for sure. So I think, the saying goes is to work smarter instead of harder. And a lot of times we talk as an entrepreneur, we talk about making money, having freedom of money, or we talk about having freedom of time. And then our sanity, right? We talk about that, the sanity or the energy, what's taking up our bandwidth, what's taking up our energy. Everything that we do or say yes to takes up energy. And then what's taking all that up, so we have leftovers, for whatever. So I want to ask you, you've scaled down. It sounds like you're not doing as many deals, but the deals that you have done have been more profitable. So let's take you, for example. What's your life look like right now? Since you're working smarter instead of harder, you're doing less deals, maybe making more margin. When it comes to money, like are you as profitable, right?
Yes.
Than when you were doing more deals? And then let's talk about, are you more profitable? And then talk about your time, because when we had that conversation too, like I feel like I see you doing all these fun things, and I'm in a season now where like we've had a lot of shifts, and I'm like, man, I'm working a lot. So talk to us about your life, money and time when it comes
Yeah.
to the season.
Okay. Well, for me, I'll just start with over the last 2 years, as we went on, I'm down to one full-time employee, and I have a few vendors that I work with that assist with some of our marketing. And as a result, I'm not responsible for those vendors. I don't have to keep them busy. I don't have to check on them. I don't have to make sure they have all their needs met. And so I have one worker that I am responsible for. That in its own takes away so much. It gives me so much more time a week.
Mm-hmm.
By scaling down my business, we're still operating. We're operating, selectively buying. Everything is great. We're spending about an hour and a half of true admin work a day. At least for me, I'm spending about an hour and a half of true admin work, and then I'm available throughout the day. This is giving me so much margin of just time, and also the ability to think. And that sounds silly, but the ability to visualize the next steps, to think about the next opportunities, to think about what I want to do going forward. And for so long, over the last several years, it's been the grind because the harvest is plenty. So, we're going out, we're getting deals. Well, now as things have slowed down, I've gotten that margin of time back, and I've got that energy. And right now I'm really working on that, just that fire in my belly for the next thing. And over the last year, because of having that margin, I just got done with a really big development project, where we were able to build a warehouse. We were able to renovate and completely rezone a commercial property. It was an amazing opportunity. Just last week, we picked up another commercial property that we're in the middle of a full exterior remodel. We already have tenants in place. And those two deals on their own are just amazing opportunities, but they only happen because I had the ability to look for them.
Yeah.
I had the energy to divert. Because what happens is, and the scaling method, which is you have to have the volume of transactions, you got to have the revenue to justify a full team. But the reality is, had I had a team, we probably would have missed out on one, if not both of those deals, because people don't know the true vision. Only I know the vision for my company as a visionary.
Yeah.
So that was a reminder for me. But as far as profitability goes, the last couple of years, we've been just really blessed with the deals that we have done. We've been selectively buying, and it's worked out quite well. Now we're in this new shift that's taking place, and we've had some hiccups with appraisals recently on some retail flips that we've done. So we're starting to get a little, starting to really reevaluate how far we want to go with these flips. And as far as cash flow goes, we're taking it in strides, and we're able to really utilize the portfolio and to keep maintaining everything.
Yeah. No, definitely. That's awesome. Yeah, I definitely agree. Sometimes when you're in the mess and you're just trying to to grind out deals and popping through deals, and transactionally you just miss stuff and some of the bigger opportunities. That's awesome. But one of the things is you just talked about reigniting that passion. I think we've had those conversations of just over the past years. There's been seasons where I have lost passion for real estate. That it, for me, it was an income producing engine that could help me do something else. It wasn't maybe the thing. It was the thing that got me to the thing. But lately, I've had this season of a few years. I've been out of the business. Now I've had to step back in, and there has been a little bit of a passion in there. Maybe it's something new, but I've also seen other people really lose their passion for what they're doing. Maybe they're burnt out. A lot of them don't even want to flip it. They could care less if they ever see another house or flip another house or see another contractor. They don't want to do that anymore, and they've lost a lot of the fire that they once had. So can you take us through your journey a little bit? Maybe had you lost passion, but it seems like now you have some of that passion back, and what can you kind of attribute to that, and how can you encourage other people in their journey?
So being fully transparent on this podcast, that is something I'm still actively working on, getting that true passion for growing again. Not growing as far as trying to grow the business, but just growing in the sense of wanting to learn this new way of doing business and wanting to learn how to chase new opportunities. But I'm still struggling with burnout. I have been for a while, and perhaps that's why I've really scaled down. It's helped give me some margin, and time does heal, but it takes a long time. As far as burnout goes, the one thing for me that I've really learned about myself over the last 6 months is I've had to establish rules of engagement with anything, whether it's my family, whether it's my wife, whether it's my walk with the Lord, whether it's my business. I have to establish rules of engagement. Doesn't mean that I need to have itemized steps on how I focus on each one of those items, but I have to know parameters and boundaries, because I have very much a addictive personality where I go all in. Mm-hmm. And then when I get burned out, I want to move on to the next thing. Yeah. The problem with that is you can't just get burned out in your family and then leave your family for the next thing.
Right.
Guys try that. It doesn't work. It never does. Yeah. But rules of engagement that's the secret sauce that I have been following. And I'm not perfect. I don't think I'm fully healed from being burned out, but I am starting to get passion back with some of these. It's been mostly the portfolio purchases that I've done that have made me really excited. It has nothing to do with the money, but I like the visualizing, I like the creating, and I like the development piece. Mm-hmm. And that's been fun for me. That's not enough to keep me fed, but it's something that I can add to the overall pool.
That's awesome.
But rules of engagement, they don't have to be complicated, but I think you definitely need to establish what that looks like.
So when you talk about rules of engagement, can you just elaborate on what does that look like? And you don't have to get in, not to put you on the spot or get into super details, but what does that really mean when it comes to the areas of your life? Obviously, business, work, family. Can you take us into your world a little bit? What does that mean for you?
Yeah. Well, for one, what ultimately keeps us nourished and that what keeps us alive is, we have our walk with the Lord. For me, that's my walk with the Lord. I know where your heart stands, Brett. And one of my rules of engagement is, we say this as Christians, but we don't always believe this, but it truly is partnering with God. God's a CEO, and that's the way it needs to be. Now, I'm not saying that I don't question the CEO, and I'm not saying that I'm not doing things I'm not supposed to be doing as a partner with God, but that's definitely one of my rules of engagement, is that he comes first. And It's enough that it's one of my rules of engagement, and it's something I'm constantly striving for. And every day, whether I need to ask for forgiveness or I need to keep praying, that's what I'm going after right now. My rules of engagement for my family is that I'm present. I have not been present. I just have not been present for the last 10 years with my marriage. Well, I shouldn't say that, but for the first 5 to 6 years, I just wasn't present. I was chasing the things to be able to supplement everything else in my life. And so now that I'm kind of processing this, my rules of engagement are that I'm home every day by 5. That was my baby steps in the very beginning. Now it's kind of changing to where I'm adding a new one, and that's where I work from home now. I've always been an advocate for traveling, working from remote workspaces, but I'm trying to figure out how to shuffle the deck to make home more a part of my life. So that's one of my new ones. And my third for my business is I'm trying to make the best decisions out of the hour and a half a day. And I say an hour and a half because I strive for an hour, but I always go over. And one of my rules of engagements are that I give the very best hour and a half of business focus to running my business. And with an hour and a half, I haven't figured out how to add more people to my team to be able to utilize with that hour and a half. The more people you have, the harder it is to work less hours because we're still babysitting.
Yeah.
Those are mine.
No.
So I would say with the rules of engagement, you start out small. You can't start all off hardcore writing down an itemized list. You're going to fail every time. You want to achieve the goal.
Yeah.
And you want to see what works for you.
Yeah. Yeah. So what would you say, another personal just type of question is, so do you only work an hour and a half a day? Like that's like your goal? What do you do with the other time in your day?
That hour and a half is 100% on my computer, complete, uninterrupted focus. And right now, as I'm still going through this, I'm still available throughout the day for emergencies. I'm still available if an opportunity comes up. So I'm not necessarily only working an hour and a half and I'm going boating or I'm going swimming. I'm still available. So some days, it's an hour and a half in the morning. Like this morning, I'm done. And about 2 hours, I have to go do an appointment in another city. And, I'm going to go do the appointment. But that's the first appointment this week. So it hasn't became an issue yet. And eventually, if things do start to change or we end up going a different direction with what we're doing, and if it does create more busy work, that's when we have to reevaluate what those rules of engagements are with work.
That's awesome. Thank you for that. As we kind of wrap up the show, Tyler, what feedback or advice would you give to the real estate entrepreneur, the entrepreneur out there, the business owner that is feeling overwhelmed by the demands of scaling up, that they have the books, they have a coach, and they're trying to put their systems in place and adding more people, and but they're continuously overwhelmed. The demands are upon them. The heaviness is upon them. I'm even probably talking to myself a little bit during this season right now. But what would you encourage them with? What feedback would you give that the person that's feeling that way and they've been feeling that way for a while?
I would say that, especially in the last year and a half, there's been a huge push for masterminds. There's been a huge push for business coaches and all kinds of anonymous reels and TikTok videos about how people have their businesses all figured out so everybody can, aspire to be them. I would say because of that much attention to everything that's happening right now, clearly there's a problem everywhere with all of us business owners where we're all kind of just treading water right now in a big pool. And we think if we read that next book or if we do that next mastermind or that next business coach that it's just going to solve our problems. It might, but there's a good chance that it might not. And sometimes we
And it could even cause more problems.
And it definitely can. And there is such a thing, and I would argue this with anybody. Um, there is such a thing as too many systems in place where you lose your customer.
Mhm.
And systems are great because they make perfect sense on paper, but it doesn't always mirror the language of your end buyer or your end seller or just your customer as a whole.
Mhm.
So I guess my rebuttal to that would be you got to work it backwards. What are you really looking for? Are you just wanting to be somebody that's accomplishing a lot of transactions, or do you want to be a profitable business? Being a profitable business is not just based on how many transactions you're doing, it's the margins that matter. And I think that's something that everybody would probably have to figure out in their own unique market or their own state, because every territory acts a little bit different.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Tyler, for being on the show today. Appreciate the advice and the feedback. One just final question is just kind of into your future. You're 34 now. Into your future, I mean, do you feel like that you will just kind of maintain this balance of life, this freedom of working, less, and it kind of having this lean team? Or what do you think? Yeah, for Tyler, or let's say opportunities again start flooding
Yeah.
in again, the market, and you start to see that happen again, like we saw 5 years ago. So,
Yeah.
what's it for you?
For me personally, I think as we really start pivoting here with this new kind of culture and this new market, I suspect that we'll probably ramp up again. But it's probably going to be more dictated on if we can figure out the right channels that we're wanting to go, because I'm not going to give up on profitability on the transaction. I'm no longer the volume no longer matters for us of transactions. I think that going forward, we'll probably ramp up to a smaller team again. And right now, it's still very profitable. We're still building out the portfolio. That's probably the direction we're going to go. I just none of us know. Everybody has different conspiracies as to what's happening. But I would say here, as soon as we can figure out a channel that makes the most sense and the best use of marketing dollars, we'll probably start ramping up again.
Awesome. Thanks, man. Yeah, I just, again, I had this podcast just like really just looking at what the opportunities are before you that God's laying out before us all. Sometimes we get focused on this long-term vision, 3, 5, 10 years down the road, and things can happen, right? We have different seasons. Again, I've mentioned that I'm kind of in a different season that probably didn't think I might be in a year ago, for example. So, and that's okay. Just look at the opportunities that are before you, and things can shift. So, Tyler, thanks so much for being on the podcast today. Appreciate you, buddy. And that's a wrap with the Iron Deep podcast. And thanks so much, bud.
All right, thanks.